Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, our today's session is on managing distance learning. Well, before I go into the details of today's session, I would like to share a review of the previous session. Our previous session was on doing research. I talked about what is research and what research is not. Then I discussed research in different disciplines and the questions such as why research is conducted and where it is conducted. I also shared with you attributes of a good research. A very important part of this session was steps in the research process. So I explained each step and I gave you the key stages in the research process. I talked about major designs of research and attributes of quantitative and qualitative research as well. By giving examples, I tried to explain different types of research. And within these two main paradigms, I shared further subtypes of research with you. As far as this session is concerned, our current lesson is on managing distance learning. I would start with defining distance learning, its types and needs. Then I would share some models of distance education with you. Defining management would be a part of today's session, and then I would relate managing to distance learning. Thus, management and distance learning brought together, we would talk about managing distance learning. We would raise the questions and talk about what does managing distance learning mean, how distance learning will be effective for you, and what is the role of the distance teacher and the distance student. I would also talk about self-evaluation and distance learning. Basic distance learning skills would be quickly given a review, and time and stress management would be two important areas that we would cover in today's session. How time management is important in distance learning and how stress management is to be done when you are learning via distance learning channel. Effective use of technologies and media for distance learning would also be a part of discussion in today's session. And of course, towards the end, we would have some activity to help you manage your time while you are learning in distance learning situations. Today's lesson is the last lesson in the series of lessons in this course. So the nature of the lesson is that provides a kind of review of what you all have done already through the whole session, and it also provides a final commentary on what makes a good study skills package that you can use for yourself as distance learners. Starting with what is distance learning, I would say distance learning has become a pervasive and growing phenomenon. Times have changed. Apart from the traditional academic settings where the teachers and students face-to-face interact to learn in real-life situations, now with the help of technology and with the improvements in the global media situations, distance learning has become something very important. Distance learning actually is any learning system where teaching behaviors are separated from learning behaviors. I, as a teacher at a different time, in a different setting, getting these lectures recorded, whereas you at a different time point would be learning all these. The learner works alone or in a group, guided by study material arranged by the instructor in a location apart from student. Students have the opportunity to communicate with an instructor with the aid of a range of media such as text, telephone, audio, video computing and internet technology, etc. This is optional in some situations of distance learning. It is available in some it is not. Distance learning may be combined with various forms of face-to-face meetings as well. This is also a part of different types of distance learning, but in some situations it is not possible. Distance learning can be referred to by a variety of terms such as distance education, online learning, e-learning, e-instruction and web-based instruction, etc. Some other expressions such as open learning and open university learning, etc., are also popular around the world, but mainly all these types refer to the general term distance learning. There are different models of distance education that are being used, but there are two basic models of distance education: synchronous and asynchronous models or modes of interactivity. In synchronous learning, the teacher and the student interact in the real time, similar to the traditional classroom settings, but this method decreases flexibility. It requires all students to be online in a video conference or in a virtual classroom at the same time. तो इसमें टाइम की पाबंदी होती है. There are constraints regarding times and settings that are one of the biggest disadvantages of synchronous learning systems. The other mode or the model of distance education is asynchronous learning system. Asynchronous learning occurs when individuals access the educational materials independently and at times and places of their choice. Asynchronous activities allow students to take as much time as they want to read the materials and compose responses or messages. It also allows time for reflection and may result in thoughtful discussion. Now, I would like you to think for a while what kind of model is being used for your distance education. I hope you can judge it very well. Yes, it is asynchronous learning model or mode where you have the independence to access the reading materials, the teaching learning materials as per your time schedule and as per your convenience. As I have already discussed, there are certain advantages of synchronous and asynchronous systems and some disadvantages as well. Talking of the advantages of synchronous learning, I would say it has the obvious advantage of providing immediate access and feedback from the instructor. This face-to-face access to the instructor has a cost to the learning measured in commitment to a schedule and sometimes even to a location depending on the technology used. Synchronous communication is advantageous when the benefit of the live interaction is greater than the drawbacks of commitment to schedule and or location. In comparison to this, when you look at the advantages of asynchronous learning, you would realize that asynchronous communication has the advantage providing the learner and instructor both with a choice of location and time. While it is this flexibility which is often the focus of interest, there are a number of hidden advantages to this system as well. The physical distance that is often seen by many as a disadvantage can have positive effects by making learners and instructors more objective, less fearful of comment or criticism, less prone to cultural barriers, especially as a worldwide online culture develops, and more inclined to think through problems before responding. It is the time for learners to reflect and even check their facts before responding to comments. So these are the advantages of this learning system that you being a part of this educational course and other courses can utilize for your best advantage. Dear students, as today's session is on managing distance learning, so the other important word or the key word that I would like to define before I go into the details of the contents of today's session, the word is management. Defining management, I would say management is the process of doing or getting activities done efficiently and effectively, making decisions on what to do and how to do it, and then checking that it is done the way it is planned. This leads us towards the question, what does managing distance learning mean? Managing distance learning simply means responsibility lies with you. I hope you don't take it as a threat, rather you take it as your strength. It lies as a responsibility with you that you would manage your distance learning. Why? There is no immediate feedback. When there is no immediate feedback, there are chances of lapses. There are also issues of time and stress management that are very much important for you as a student when it comes to managing distance learning. A very crucial question for you then is to see how distance learning will be effective for you. Well, distance learning can be effective for you, and it can be as effective as traditional instruction if you take care of a few things. However, how effective it is depends largely on the methods and technology used and their appropriateness in relation to the instructional tasks and objectives. It also depends upon how do you use this technology and how do you respond to distance learning. Effectiveness of distance learning is also affected by student to student and student to instructor interactions. Not only is this true because of the needed exposure to new ideas and feedback, but because of the affective dimension of learning. So at this time point, I would like you to take a short break and think for a while. Identify your role in this learning program, in this distance learning situation where you are learners. I would say that at the outset of this whole, if you are able to identify, it would make your life easy. Looking at the relationship of self-evaluation and distance learning, I would say that distance learning is not appropriate for anyone. Some students find distance learning a positive, rewarding experience. Others are frustrated by the experience and have difficulty succeeding in this type of class. Possessing certain qualities will increase your opportunity for success and enhance your enjoyment of distance classes. By so far, through the whole course, through all the sessions, a lot of materials have been shared on study skills, and I have tried my best to impart to you certain study skills that will help you not only to perform on this course, but also all the other courses that you are taking in this semester and in the coming days, whatsoever you would be doing on different courses. So using all these study skills will help you not only perform better, but also to evaluate yourself in your distance learning. Before I move forward, I would quickly like to share with you an assessment sheet here. This assessment will help you evaluate your readiness for distance learning coursework. Now that you have already done your whole study skills course, I am sure that it would have added to your kit of tools to deal with different subjects. So I think this is again the right time. Remember, we did it in the first semester to check your ability to handle distance learning, and now towards the closing of this course, I would like you to use this checklist to determine whether you are well prepared for distance learning courses to be continued with, and how do you perform on these. There are certain questions, answer these for yourself. Are you a self-motivated person? Answer these, check these as yes or no. Number 2, are you able to work independently with little direction? 3, are you a self-starter? 4, are you able to manage your time well? Well, by the way, today's session has an important segment that deals with time management. Are you capable of self-discipline to accomplish a goal? Are you an organized person? Can you structure your time and surroundings? Do you have good study habits? By the way, during the course, I have shared a lot of study habits, a lot of communication skills and communication skills habits with you, and now you can check yourself on those, how far you find yourself good at all that. Can you readily comprehend information you read? Well, we talked about reading comprehension. We did different activities on reading comprehension as well. How was your experience of learning how to comprehend? And now, can you readily comprehend information you read or not? This is the time for you to check. Can you prepare and study for exams independently? Well, exams are a very, very important component of any academic teaching learning process. Actually, in Pakistani context, if you would see, most of the academic activities, they revolve around the single idea of taking examinations and passing them. In that context, see yourself how far you are ready to take your exams independently now. Next question for you is, are you able to capably take objective exams? And the next question, are you able to capably take subjective exams? Yes, especially in your case when you are distance learning students, your capability to take objective and subjective exams is very, very important for you from the point of view of study skills. Sometimes students lack study skills that would enable them to prepare for exams. Though they would know a lot, they would not know how to write it, how to organize it, for example, or how to pick and choose when it comes to objective type of exams. So it is the right time for you to check yourself on that, how far you have learned all this. Would you be able to easily call or email a professor or any other concerned person with questions or concerns about the course and not be intimidated to do so? This is about self-motivation and your confidence. Are you comfortable asking questions if you need clarification? Are you a goal-oriented person? If yes, do you usually achieve your goals? Are you able to gather information visually? In distance learning, the visual aspect of learning becomes very, very important. So far a lot has been shared. I have also shared with you not only gathering information visually, but also how to prepare your presentations, including both the linguistic and extra linguistic features. So check yourself how far you are prepared for this now. Do you get things done and not put things off till tomorrow? It is about time management, and actually today's session has time management as an important component included in the session. Do you consider yourself capable of independent learning? Well, dear students, as a distance learner, it is very, very important for you that if you want to manage your distance learning, you need to learn to manage it independently. A lot of support that is otherwise available in traditional classroom settings would be absent in your case, and as I said earlier, you as a student or as a learner would be the most responsible person in this case. You also need to check, are you the type of student who doesn't necessarily need regular contact with your instructor or other people who are related to it? Are you in control of your time? Do you determine how to use your time? If you think yes, you are in control of your time, do you categorize it and how do you use it? Do you consider yourself a mature adult? Are you confident of your academic abilities? You can check your academic abilities in context of study skills that you have learned so far. Do you stick with the task even when confronted with obstacles? This is about motivation, how far motivated you are. Do you complete what you start? Assess yourself on that. It is an important part of your study skills that you are determined to complete the academic tasks that you start. So far whatsoever you have performed, you need to check yourself on that. Do you believe you are responsible for your own education, that what you learn or don't learn is ultimately your responsibility? If majority of the answers are in yes, then you are a suitable person who is well equipped with the study skills that are required for your further distance learning. If you have some answers still in no, you need to check the area, what particular area is that you have responded as no, and you need to work on specific study skills that are related to the management of that area. Now that you would have done some self-evaluation of your study skills and your ability to manage your distance learning with the help of these study skills, I would bring you back to the general idea of distance education, where I would quickly talk about the role of the distance teacher and the distance learner. As far as the role of the distance teacher is concerned, if media used effectively, teachers can become facilitators of learning rather than communicators of a fixed body of information. The learning process proceeds as knowledge building among teachers and students. Distance learning allows students to hear and perhaps see teachers. Of course, in your case, you can see your teachers, which gives reality-like situation, a seemingly reality-like situation to your reading or to your learning contexts. As I earlier, the role of distance student in distance learning programs is of primary nature. Under the best of circumstances, this challenging task requires motivation, planning, and the ability to analyze and apply the information being taught. And of course, for this purpose, you need certain study skills, and the current course was designed around those study skills that you would need more as a distance learner. Many educational situations that are distance learning situations, in them students are older, they have jobs and they have families, as compared to the traditional conservative teaching systems. So in these cases, they must coordinate the different areas of their lives which influence each other, their families, jobs, spare time and studies. So it's about, again, time management as a distance learner. Distance students have a variety of reasons for taking different courses. Some students are interested in obtaining a degree to qualify for a better job. Many take courses to broaden their education. You need to be clear about your purpose of your distance education so that you could use different study skills to get your target or to achieve your task. Continuing on the role of the distance student, I would say in distance education, the learner is usually isolated. The motivational factors arising from the contact or competition with other students is absent. The student also lacks the immediate support of a teacher who is present and able to motivate, and if necessary, give attention to actual needs and difficulties that crop up during study. Now, in the absence of all this, as a teacher, what I could do the maximum for you was to provide you with all the study skill tools that you could use for yourself. What all other teachers of different courses can do for you as the maximum is to provide you the maximum information in the best possible way with detailed explanation and examples for your clarity. However, unfortunately, in distance learning situations, especially the kind of systems where asynchronic system is used, it would not be possible for you that at a particular time when you are under stress or under pressure in your academic context or during learning anything, you find something difficult, you would find it hard to get immediate feedback on that. Now, your strength as a distance student is that you manage this stress and you use your study skills the best to resolve the issue. Distance students and their teachers often have little in common in terms of background and day-to-day experiences, and therefore it takes longer for student-teacher rapport to be developed. Without face-to-face contact, distance students may feel ill at ease with their teacher as an individual and uncomfortable with their learning situation. So you have to manage this stress as a part of your study skills toolkit, where you are preparing yourself to be independent distance learners by using these skills. In distance education settings, technology is typically the conduit through which information and communication flow. Until the teacher and students become comfortable with the technical delivery system, communication will be inhibited. So what you need to do is you need to be comfortable with the equipment and the technology that you would use for learning all these courses and for studying all these courses. Until and unless you would be comfortable with the technological environment in which you would study all this and the equipment that you would use, it would become a stress for you to handle. My dear students, with this I move on to some basic distance learning skills that I would like to share with you as a part of your study skills. Your basic distance learning skills include motivation and confidence. So, number one, be motivated, and number two, be confident. Be motivated because as a student who is involved in distance learning, you will need to be a self-directed learner. To ensure that you can do this, you need to be highly motivated. The best way to stay sharp is to have a clear goal in mind for what you want to achieve through your education. When I say you need to have a clear goal for your education, actually I am reiterating the same point that I mentioned in the very first lecture. So actually I am rounding it up here in this lecture and completing the circle. We are reaching the same point from where we started. Covering all the study skills means being ready to learn, to be a successful learner. And your motivation in this regard, especially when you have a specific goal, when you have a clear, clean target in front of you, it makes your learning far easier. If you are working toward a degree, your goal may be to finish your degree and improve career. If you are learning for some other purpose, you need to be clear on that. The more you would be clear on your goal, the better you would perform to achieve that goal. The second basic distance learning skill that I would like to share with you is be confident. Before you take a distance learning program, prepare yourself for it, as it will give you confidence to handle the courses. And actually the purpose of the study skills courses is to provide you with all the needed resources and tools that you would need to apply in different courses through different semesters. So you should be confident of the skills that are involved in university learning, such as reading university level textbooks and writing research assignments. Well, in the previous session I have talked about research assignments and how to do research and the main factors involved in research. I also shared with you different steps or stages that are involved in any kind of academic research, and I hope you would utilize all that. Continuing on basic distance learning skills, I would say time management is the third important thing that you need to learn. Time management skills are essential in learning when you are a distance learning student. Before signing up for your distance course, ensure you have enough time to spend on the courses. And now that you have signed up on these courses, a general rule is to allow 2 hours of study for every hour of class. For example, if you are about 4 hours studying, approximately 6 hours per week. Once you know how much time you need to spend, create a schedule for that and manage your time by following that schedule. We would later on talk in detail about time management. Setting your goals is very important. I have already talked about that while talking about being motivated. Here I would say a good way to stay on top of your work is to set goals. The more you do now, the easier it will be at the end. Break large tasks down into smaller parts. Breaking down your ultimate goal into small, manageable steps is the best way to make regular progress while feeling like you are actually achieving something. Well, your tutor will help you set a timetable which breaks down the course elements. Actually, by breaking down the whole course into a series of 32 lectures, for example, I have given you a breakdown of the whole study skills courses. Same applies to all other courses that you are taking. So this is a kind of facilitation that is provided to you by organizing all the materials. If you have a paper due at the end of the course, break it down so you do part of it each week. You can expand it to different weeks. Ensure that you accomplish the goals you set for yourself by the end of each week. When it comes time to pass in the papers, you will be glad you did this. So, setting goals does not mean setting one big goal for yourself with a huge amount of courage needed for that and with a lot of effort involved in that. Rather, breaking that big goal into small pieces and giving importance to one small chunk at a time makes your achievement of your target or goal easy. The next skill is get to know your course materials. Your course materials and textbooks are designed to give you the basic knowledge and information you need to get through the course. So make sure you are familiar with them. If your textbooks are still in wrappers, and I'm talking about the additional materials that are provided you either in the soft copies or in the hard copies, if you have still not utilized them, this is the time to look at them and to unfold them. But don't stick to them exclusively. Reading around your chosen subject will give you a greater breadth and depth of knowledge, so extra reading and research can help you perform better in your studies. Your tutor will be able to suggest good sources and resources. As far as myself is concerned, through the whole course, for every session I have provided you lists of resource books or resource websites. You can always use them, and by doing this you will be able to have an extensive study and more detailed information available on the specific subjects. Review your courses. Well, this is really important for you. One great advantage of distance courses is that you are able to view and replay them all or in part as many times as you want to do that. So you can actually customize your notes and you can review them. More challenging information that you find more difficult, you can go back to it, you can replay it, you can listen to it as many times as you want to, you can read it as many times as you want to. So review your courses, review your reading materials, listen to the lectures again and again so that you are clear on the ideas, especially the challenging information that you find difficult, to have clarity on that. Cater for your learning style. Well, if you don't already know it, now it is an excellent time to find your learning style and use it to your advantage. Try to convert the topic or subject you are studying into a format that helps you to learn better. Whether it is reading, listening, or looking at some materials or doing it. If you remember, in your course I included some session on notes taking and on making outlines as well. So basically these are the skills out of this study skills package that you are supposed to use for your identification of learning style and to improve your learning style, plus to manage your learning. The next distance learning skill that is very important for you is creating support. Telling your family, friends, colleagues, or even your boss if you are working somewhere about your studies is a great way to get some kind of motivation on your course and get some much needed encouragement and praise as you achieve your goals. Enlisting others to help give you a push can be a good way to ensure you study at the times you have set aside, and the watchful eye of these people might have stave off any thoughts of slacking off. So use your surroundings and people around you as a support. When you need motivation, try to have some motivation from them. Continuing on basic distance learning skills, I would also say, if possible, find other students. Getting in touch with other students on the same course as you can be a great way to swap ideas and make friends, and can make your course a lot more enjoyable. Forums, social networks, etc. can also be of some help to meet these people. Meeting in person, if somebody is taking up the same course in your surroundings, can be of some help. And the last point on this slide is that treat yourself. All work and no play can make it difficult to succeed on a distance learning course. So don't be afraid to reward yourself for your achievements. Treating yourself for achieving goals will help to motivate you and give you a sense of progress and achievement on your course. So planning rewards for milestones such as submitting work or completing units or completing a project or an assignment can be a useful way to keep your spirits high as you study. With this list of sub-skills or skills that you need as a distance learner, I think you would be able to evaluate and judge your performance so far, and you can further work on some areas that you think are of importance for you or that you think you need to work on. As I said at the outset of the lesson, that our today's lesson has two important components: time management and stress management as a part of distance learning. So here on this slide you can see I am talking about time management in distance learning. Distance learners need to set up a system to succeed. Learn how to successfully manage your time, create schedules for yourself, balance your academic work with your real life, and keep yourself motivated. Time management is crucial for distance learners because of the flexible nature of distance study. The fact that distance study is fitted into an already existing busy life, and the distance from classroom and other students who can indirectly help each other keep up to date. So do not relax on it. Do not what I would call waste time. It is important that distance students use their time wisely. Organize your study around other commitments. It is an important part of time management that you have already made fixed time commitments to your family, your work, and your friends. So try to set up a study schedule that recognizes these time commitments. However you set up your study schedule, treat that time as seriously as you do other things such as your job or your sleep time, etc. With reference to time management in distance learning, I would also say be realistic about your study schedule. Maybe a study schedule that would suit me would not suit you. What would suit you would not suit somebody else. Maybe study pattern that would be very realistic for me would not be that much realistic for you or for somebody else. So identify your needs and try to be realistic in planning your study time. You probably will have to give up some of the things you do to make time for study. However, almost everybody needs some time for recreation and for leisure activities, so treat yourself on that. You will find it easier to stick to a study schedule if it includes some time to relax as well. So a balanced schedule is what you need. Try to get some study done every day. Study is easier if you can spread the work out rather than trying to cram it all into a few days. Research with university students has shown that you learn better and remember more if you spread out your study. I would repeat this point because it is very important, that research has shown that students studying at universities or getting higher education degrees, if they spread out their schedule and break their tasks into small pieces and chunks, they perform better as compared to the students who do not do that. When it comes to time management, it is also important for you as a learner that you set realistic goals. So every time you set a goal for yourself, you begin a period of study, decide what it is you want to accomplish in that time that you have, and make sure that your goal is a realistic one. If you have set aside 3 hours for study, your goal might be to read 2 assigned chapters in your text and make summary notes, or it might be to write several pages of an essay. What I mean to say by this is, set your goals by considering the ground realities in how much time what would be possible. Something that would be humanly impossible for you, if you set that as a goal within a small time duration, of course it would not be achievable and it would affect your motivation level. A very important advice in this regard is that be realistic about your concentration span. Most people find it difficult to concentrate for long periods. In fact, many people find that their attention begins to wander after 20 minutes. If you plan to read or write for long periods of time, break up your study with short breaks for a stretch or walk around, and you'll find it easier to stay focused. Sitting with a book in your hand or a notepad to write something and doing nothing for 2 hours would be of not any good. If you take a break of 2, 3 or 5 minutes after every half an hour, say, so it would save you from the monotony of all that, and it would improve your concentration span as well. So these were the important factors related to time management that I have shared with you, and now I would like to share a few important aspects of stress management in distance learning. When it comes to distance learning, sometimes students have stress. Actually, if I define stress, I would say it is your body's reaction to the demands that are placed on it. It occurs when we feel that we cannot cope with what our lives demand from us. Believe it or not, a moderate level of stress can actually be good for you, because it would pump you up and increase your attention level, and you would focus more on your studies. People perform at an optimum level when stress is moderate. However, too much of stress does not have the same effect. So again, you need to check with yourself if you are okay or not. So keep your tension or stress level to a point where it is beneficial for you. An important thing that I would like to say in this regard is that everyone is bound to feel stressed out sometimes. You can't really escape stress, but there are certain things you can do to reduce it and better manage it. When it comes to stress management, there are certain things that you can do to manage your stress. The first and the foremost important thing is stay healthy. Ironically, in times of stress, we neglect the things we need to do to help us properly manage stress. No matter what is going on around you, your first priority should be to take care of your body. You need to eat proper food and get proper sleep. If possible, do some exercise. It keeps your body healthy and gives you an outlet for your stress. The second important thing is be aware of your stressors. Recognize the situations and people who are stressing you, and if those situations or people, if you avoid, see the possibilities of avoiding. You may be making yourself susceptible to unnecessary stress, so take care of that. One way of dealing with stress is learn time management. So you see, time management and stress management are interrelated. That is why I have included both in the same session. Time management is a great way to reduce stress. It keeps you organized and ensures that you get everything done on time. Another way of dealing with stress is take a break. You need to allow yourself to take a break on your study schedule. It is important that you get your work done, but you also have to take breaks, and by taking these breaks you can after that perform far better. However, be aware that the breaks are not too long to affect your whole schedule. When it comes to stress management, my dear students, I would say practicing acceptance is a very, very important factor. Sometimes you have to accept the things that cannot be changed. Learn to ignore what is beyond your control and be positive about things you can control. And actually, you need to use your energies to control what you can. And something that is beyond your control, do not waste your energy unnecessarily on that part. If there is nothing you can do about whatsoever is causing you stress, try to put it out of your mind and move forward. This is the only way you can cope with stress. It is also a good piece of advice, I would say, that learn to say no. It is good to realize you have limits. Sometimes you have to say no to certain requests so you do not increase your stress level. At times this may be tough to do, but it is important for your own stress management. And finally, on stress management, I would say get help. Talking to friends or family members may also help you put things in perspective. If your stress is a constant problem for you, maybe you need an appointment to speak to a professional, but in most of the cases, students are able to deal with it themselves. So far I have talked about time management and stress management in distance learning because the ultimate goal of most of the study skills, be they all the communication study skills or otherwise, is to enable the students to manage their time and stress when it comes to distance learning. With this now, I move on to the technologies and medias that are involved in distance learning and their relationship to your study skills. Well, first comes print medium. Print is the most common medium used in distance education. Forms of print are textbooks, manuals, course notes, and study guides. All these materials you need to get familiar with and you need to get comfortable using with. Then the second type of materials that are used are audio and video cassettes. Sometimes distance learning programs provide what is called video-based instruction, as it is in your case as well. In such a program, video tapes or video CDs or video cassettes are the main medium of delivery of information to the learner. Audio and videotapes have come to play an increasingly important role as media for distance education. These technologies are convenient and cost effective, and most people use them on their computers or VCRs in their homes, and videotapes are or the CDs, they are very easy and inexpensive to distribute as well. Now, these media can be used to present the views of experts, which would increase the credibility and the interest in the materials. Think of yourself of learning in the traditional distance learning system, where students would only be provided with some books or some written materials and they would have to deal with those by themselves. In comparison to this situation that in which you are, where you can see your instructor, you can listen to the voice of your instructor, and the mode of the delivery of lecture is almost the same as it would be in a classroom, how very much facilitative it is for you. Another benefit of the use of these resources is that materials that cannot be communicated by print, they can also be communicated this way, and video is a powerful medium in terms of capturing your attention and conveying a lot of information quickly. Producing video or audio tapes helps keeping students in track and get people involved. Now that you are provided with these materials at your end, what you need to do is to use these video recordings to the maximum for your audio and visual input, so that you could understand the materials to the maximum and can respond to them appropriately. As a distance learner, you have to learn how to deal with these materials. Dealing with these materials includes following things. Now that these materials are provided to you, you need to learn how to identify them, to understand them, and then to organize them. Organize them, not only the materials but also the related equipment that you are going to use, sorting them out, and finally utilizing them. So you see, these are different steps that you need to be vigilant and careful in how you would manage all these steps when it comes to the use of these materials that are your teaching learning materials. Well, my dear students, towards the end of the session, as most of the times I give you some activity to do that quickly for some practice, here again I have some time management skills activity for you. Throughout the course, you have been taught to use different study skills, different communication skills to get maximum benefit out of some reading passage, and also to achieve the maximum of the goal that is set for you for that reading. So here is a quick activity where I would like you to read the passage and then answer the questions. I would read this for you. If you want to read it for yourself, what you can do quickly is, I would suggest then you can turn the volume low and you can read it for yourself. In his thought-provoking work, Philosophical Investigations, Ludwig Wittgenstein uses an easily conceptualized scenario in an attempt to clarify some of the problems involved in thinking about the mind as something over and above the behaviors that it produces. Imagine, he says, that everyone has a small box in which they keep a beetle. No one is allowed to look in anyone else's box, only in their own. Over time, people talk about what is in their boxes, and the word beetle comes to stand for what is in everyone's box. Through this curious example, Wittgenstein attempts to point out that the beetle is very much like an individual's mind. No one can know how exactly what it is to be another person or experience things from another's perspective. Look in someone else's box. But it is generally assumed that the mental workings of other people's minds are very similar to that of our own. Everyone has a beetle which is more or less similar to everyone else's. However, it does not really matter, he argues, what is in the box or whether everyone indeed has a beetle, since there is no way of checking or comparing. In a sense, the word beetle, if it is to have any sense or meaning, simply means what is in the box. From this point of view, the mind is simply what is in the box, or rather what is in your head. Wittgenstein argues that although we cannot know what it is like to be someone else, to say that there must be a special mental entity called a mind that makes our experiences private is wrong. His rationale is that he considers language to have meaning because of public usage. In other words, when we talk of having a mind or a beetle, we are using a term that we have learned through conversation and public discourse rooted in natural language. The word might be perceived differently in each of our minds, but we all agree that it signifies something. This allows us to develop language for talking about conceptualizations like color, mood, size, and shape. Therefore, the word mind cannot be used to refer specially to some entity outside of our individualized conception, since we can't see into their people's boxes. Now that you have read this, quickly answer these questions. Based on information in the passage, what the author apparently believes that, number one, it is best to think of mental states as nothing over and above the behaviors they produce. Number two, the public use of language is responsible for misconception about the mind. And number three, through the use of precise language, it is possible to accurately describe the shared properties of the mind. Now see, based on this information, what he believes, what is correct or incorrect. A, 1 only. B, 2 only. C, 1 and 2. D, 2 and 3 only. And E, 1, 2 and 3 only. So all the three statements that are written here, which one of these is correct, or all the three that he believes in, or any two combinations that are given, this is what you need to check. Here is another question for checking your comprehension. Which of the following literary devices best describes Wittgenstein's use of the beetle in a box scenario? A, authorial intrusion, characterized by a point at which the author speaks out directly to the reader. B, aphorism, characterized by the use of a concise statement that is made in a matter-of-fact tone to state a principle or an opinion that is generally understood to be a universal truth. C, amplification, characterized by the embellishment or extension of a statement in order to give it greater worth or meaning. D, allegory, characterized by the use of symbolic representation to convey the meaning of an often abstract concept. And E, ambiguity, characterized by the expression of an idea in such a way that it becomes possible to glean more than one meaning from it. Which of these you think is correct? Number 3. Wittgenstein would most likely disagree with which of the following statements? A, it is impossible to know another person's thoughts. B, the mind is a special mental substance. C, the color green may actually look different to everybody. D, words do not always actually represent the things they symbolize. And finally, E, it takes time for public discourse to create a new word with a common meaning. And the fourth question for you is, as used in paragraph 3, which is the best synonym for discourse? Exchange, conversation, announcement, knowledge, or setting? By the way, you can go back to the passage if you want to check. And the next question, question number 5, is, based on his use of the beetle in a box comparison in the passage, it can be inferred that the writer might similarly compare a room full of people to a deck of cards. B, box of chocolates. C, collection of rocks. D, library of books. And finally E, group of drinking glasses filled with water. So for facilitating you, here I have provided the answers as C, D, B, A and B respectively for questions 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. You can go back to these questions and you can cross-check your answers, how far these are correct. And now I come to the point where I would ask you to self-evaluate. By the way, how much time you planned for the activity and how much time it took. I would also like to ask whether you actually timed yourself for it or not. Did you ever think of managing your time while reading and answering these questions or not? If not, you need to do it once again. Think about how would you manage time in a better way for this activity. What about your goals, realistic or non-realistic, that you set for this activity? You can check your time management through different activities by giving yourself specific time, by setting your small goals, and by applying all your study skills to see how far you can achieve those goals. Dear students, here are the references that I have used for the current session. You can always take benefit of these. You can consult further all these resources. Before I close today's session, that is the last session of the course as well, I would like to share a quick review of the session. Today's session was on managing distance learning, and actually it was an effort to complete the circle, to complete the course, to bring it to the point from where we started. So I started talking about distance learning. I defined it and talked about different types of distance learning and different needs in different contexts. I shared with you different models of distance education. Then I defined management, and the next step was that I linked management to distance learning. So I talked about what does managing distance learning mean. How distance learning will be effective for you was another important aspect that was discussed. And in that regard, I talked about the role of the distance teacher and the role of the distance learner. With that, I moved on to self-evaluation and distance learning. Basic distance learning skills were discussed, and I shared a few tips on that with you as well. Main part of today's session was working around time management in distance learning and stress management in distance learning. I shared different aspects and factors related to the management of time and stress when it comes to study skills related to distance learning. Effective use of technologies and media for distance learning and how you have the responsibility to manage all these was also a part of today's discussion. And towards the end, we had an activity, how to manage time when you are doing some reading activity. This is the end of today's session, and I hope the whole study skills course would enable you to have a better set of tools than before to work on your studies more effectively and more efficiently. Good luck with your studies. Thank you very much.